watching The Sports Spin, presented by Duchesne Healthcare. Health and healing, every person, every time.
Welcome to The Sports Spin, your weekly dose of sports action, presented by Duchesne Healthcare. Mark Mason, and with me, the professor of the microphone, the guru of sports, the man who looks good in peach, Dennis Mott. And now we watch the games, we call the games, now we get to spin the games. And Dennis, today on the Sports Spin, we look back at Duchesne versus Union in a rivalry game, as well as we talk with Coach Hoopes from Duchesne. Then we put some UNA wrestlers on the fast dash. But first, why don't we take a look at the week rewind. Well, it's the week rewind, and it can't go without saying that you were at the Clippers OKC game, second row.
Right behind the bench. I got to see Paul get injured, by Westbrook, and I can guarantee you, I learned one thing from being there that close, that they do not sing a lot of primary songs. I mean, that's our R-rated bench, and I think they all are. But we had a great time.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, got to see it.
Well, we heard you say that some of those words at family dinner, afterwards. So we'll have to cure you of that habit.
I never heard once please or thank you.
Please or thank you. Did you triple-double, Westbrook?
I don't think he made the triple-double. I think he got a double-double, didn't he?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I think he did.
Oh, okay.
I was so caught up with the crowd and being so close, I didn't pay a lot of attention to a lot of stuff.
And then, do they have a jazz bear at the Clippers game?
No, but their mascot it's ridiculous. But no, like I say, it was an experience I'll never forget. But I need to forget it as soon as possible.
Okay, we're forgetting already. So that wasn't part of our week rewind. It was part of his week rewind. I wish I was there, but they all went to California without me, so we're going to disown them. Okay, let's roll right into it. Let's take a look before we get to the game of the week. Uinta hosted Payson, region game. And they lost 2 on the road, Maple Mountain, and never forget the other team they lost to, Springville. Now they win one against Spanish Fork on the road, and they host Payson. And how'd that turn out?
Hey, I think that was probably UNA's best game. It's obvious that, like you say, they've had a couple of losses in there, but the 2 losses that they had were beatable teams. Yeah. I mean, they did not get blown away. And it almost seems like the chemistry is starting to come back to the UNA Utes. It seems like there's no more me ball, my ball. And Payson was a great game, and if they can spring off that game into these following games, they're going to be contenders.
Yeah, and John Parker goes off for 21 points in the first quarter, and feeding off that, Corbin Gardner's doing it all inside. So Parker's doing it all in the three-point land. Corbin Gardner's going inside, so they had the inside-outside game going, and the rest of the contributors were doing their thing, and the game was never in question. So
once you have Parker, like you say, once Parker lights it up and Gardner lights it up, there's very few teams that's going to beat the UNA Utes.
Can't hang with that kind of scoring power. So let's go right into Duchesne at Union. We called this the grudge match when we called it. Duchesne came to Union last year and won, and Union was going to have none of that this time around. And led by number 30, Austin Jaramillo, the point guard for Duchesne. And it was a three-party, Dennis. They made more three-pointers. There was several players with 3 or more three-pointers, and Jaramillo ended up with 30 points, I believe. He had 25 points at halftime, and he cooled off in the second half. But at that time, he was including the other players. And the story of the game was Chad Lewis, not BYU's Chad Lewis.
I'm going to say.
Yeah. Not a
Chad
BYU
didn't come
fame.
into the game.
No,
okay.
Chad Lewis of Duchesne High School fame. He got his 3rd foul with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Had to sit on the bench. 2-point game became a 14-point game with him on the bench, and Duchesne could never recover. They got it within 6 a couple times, but could never get over the hump. So kudos to both teams.
Right.
And you have a 3A, 1A matchup, and you kind of expect the result.
Well, Union needed that win. I mean, they have been struggling this season. They'll be the first to admit that they've had a tough season. Even afterwards, going up against Grantsville, again they fall. UNA had very, very easy going with Union, and so this was a good game for them. Nothing like getting a win, regardless of whether it's 1A or 2A or whatever. It was a good win for them. However, they backed off and came back with another loss. So it's a tough year for Union.
Tough year, but they're 1-1 in region, and that's the important stat. Regardless of their overall, they're 4-10, I believe, overall in the season with that win last night. But 1-1 in region, which means they're in the conversation for the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Okay, well, that's it for the week rewind. Let's take a look at the L&L Monster replays. Well, here on the L&L Motor Monster Replays, Dennis, let's take a look here right off the bat at a wrestling match, and these are Duchesne and Uinta going head-to-head in a battle, and you hate to see one of them lose because they're both here from the basin, and you can see from the highlights that these two guys, I mean, look at the shoulders on that move.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness, mine would pop out and it'd be laying on the floor, just a bloody stump. So, of course, the wrestler from Uinta won. But both players win this last week's Monster Replays. The showdown, we called that 80% of the votes. That's pretty good.
That's excellent.
So
80%.
So we're going to go next to Uinta girls. What do we call this one?
Well, we call it a win.
We call it a win.
We call it a win, and once again, they also were looking for a win.
Yeah, they call it a win, and we call that one Among Giants, and that's Callahan, number 10 for the Utes, and I think she might be all 5'1", and you see when she comes out with that rebound, her head almost in the shot and almost to the shoulder of the girl. She got the rebound over and the putback on. You know.
Good win for the Lady Utes. Again, as we talked about with Union, they needed that. They needed that win, and like I say, every time you get a win, you feel just a little bit better when you're taking off those sneakers.
Yeah.
You know, just a better feeling, and they had that for that particular game. Hope they can have a lot more down the road.
So Callahan, 5'1", Among Giants. Now let's go steal and finish. This is Altamont, Tabiona. And this was one of those games, and you can see them there on the old Tabiona court.
Yeah.
Do you remember reffing some of those games in Tabiona?
I remember some of the times the door was open and the ball would go out of the door and would go clear to the bottom of the hill and we'd have to get a new ball. But those are, we're talking about, 100 years ago.
Yeah, I remember a story with you on that, and that one we call steal and finish. And Altamont was the highlight on that place. Of course, Tabiona won the game only by 4, and boy, Altamont's having a great season. Of course, Tabiona, a great year. But I remember you telling me stories about police escorts out of Tabiona after reffing the games, and they take their basketball seriously there. They always have.
Yeah, like you say, we had a particular game we were doing that was one at the buzzer. We had called a foul previous to that, and the principal came down and said, "Don't get dressed, just grab your clothes, and we'll have an escort for you on the side of the door." And absolutely, we were escorted back with the highway patrol. So tough time sometimes being in Manila and Tabiona and some of these small schools. I mean, like you say, they take it a little too serious.
Yeah, indeed. And so we'll call that one the steal and finish. That's the L&L Motor Monster Replays, presented to you by the Sultan of Stripes. We found out he's a referee as well. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at the Sportsman to vote for your favorite L&L Monster Replay. We'll be right back.
It's not about the miles you take when you're driving, but the milestones you see when you get to where you're going. When you graduate high school, buy your first car, get married, start a family, find your first home, and grow old together. Let each mile bring you closer to the moments that matter. L&L Motor. People you know, people who care.
Here on the Spin Cycle, we have head coach for Duchesne High School, Billy Hoopes. And Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I look at the record for Duchesne basketball this year at 8-3. And I look back at some of the games that you lost, competitive games, but some of the games you won. It looks like you guys are really rolling this year.
We're having a pretty good year right now. Some of those games you talked about we lost. We didn't finish well at the end of games, and we've learned from that in some situations, hopefully, and playing a little better at the end of games. We've been in some tight ones the whole time.
Now, I always hate looking forward, but I see there's 7 games left on the schedule, if I read that right. One of them's Union, who you're playing tonight. You beat them last year on their home court. If you win that game, is it possible you run the table here at the end of this season?
Well, hopefully, but it's always tough to run the table. Your season kind of goes like a roller coaster. You have some ups and downs, and hopefully you have more ups than downs. But which so far we have, and we just like to continue to win or lose. I would like to just continue to get better night after night.
Now, typically you see a game out of region play like this game tonight earlier in the season. What's the thought process? Was it just scheduling, or did you do this on purpose to schedule it middle of season like this?
A little of both. We have Rich later in the week, which is a game that really is crucial to our season. And, tonight with a tough game with Union, a competitive game, I felt like it would kind of simulate a state tournament where you have to play 2 good opponents in a week, and at the end of the year you got to play 4. So it's kind of scheduling, kind of looked ahead and thought it would be a good matchup.
What's the chances of a Uinta Duchesne game ever in the future?
I would love to do that. I think next year would be great. I don't know if that would ever happen. I hope so. I haven't really thought about it, and if Uinta would love to play, give us a call. We'd love to. I think we'd be competitive. I really do.
Yeah, we watched the game last year, and the traps on the side that you put on Union, and of course that was the year they had 12 seniors. It was an incredible high-paced game. How do you keep the guys fresh so they can run like that for a full game? I mean, I'm looking at that. I don't think it's possible, and yet the boys do it.
Well, one, their conditioning is good, and 2, our rotation. I believe you're only as strong as your weakest link, and we have some guys that come in and fill a role and do a great job of that. This year we have Corbin Young and Ammon Grail and Kason Giles and Chad Lewis. We have guys all down the list. Jaron Mortensen has been great for us. And so we have a deep rotation, use a lot of guys, but most importantly, every guy comes in there and just gives it their all the whole time they're in there.
Yeah, and you're right about that weakest link and the rotations that they come in. They know their roles. And I think that's probably when you look at Duchesne sports, it seems like somehow the coaches are able to identify the roles. Doesn't matter what the sport is. And, I think I see that because all of you help each other coach. So the camaraderie and coaching staff, does that help the success of the Duchesne sports programs?
Absolutely. I feel like the Duchesne community in general has been great. I was leaving the gym today on the way over here, and I heard the girls coach, Eric, tell his girls, hey, we're going to make sure we try to get over there and support these boys. And we try to get to as many wrestling matches as you can. You can't get to everything, but, with the small school, and, I coached a lot of those kids in football. Coach Cowan is helping me with basketball. So there's definitely a camaraderie and a real pull from all the different sports in our community.
Sure, and that starts at the top with the athletic director and the principals helping there as well. Appreciate your time. I know JV's playing. We're going to let you go. Okay, Coach Billy Hoopes from Duchesne High School. Thanks so much.
Go Eagles.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm Amanda Hartman. I'm the new director of nursing here at the Villa. Here at the Villa, it's far more than a nurse-patient relationship. You truly are like a family. We have a community here, we have neighborhoods within our community, and we create lasting relationships that mirror that of our own families.
We're kind of just one big family because we're their sole providers, and we spend a lot of time with each and every resident. Even our rehab patients are here for months at a time, so we really create a family-like environment with them also.
Welcome back. It's time for the calls of the week. Call him.
Now, I'm a little familiar with this segment here. Last time we did this, we almost made it like a bet. And we had to bet to see who wins what. And I did do my work, and I went back and went in the review, and I was 2 out of 3. but I haven't received a call from you, a drink or lunch or
Nothing?
nothing.
What do you want? You want to double down on this?
I don't want to double down, but I got a feeling
you want to be fed, and then you want more.
Yeah, well, I'll take anything at this stage. Let's try it, but once again, I'm going to win, and so I'm concerned to how you're going to pay me. But let's go.
There's snacks in the green room. We'll make sure that you get a fruit snack before you go out. So, all right. So you beat me. It's something that John has never done, and in fact, if we're going to review last week, well, there's not much to review. Last week we had Altamont at Tabiona, and John picked Altamont, and I picked Tabiona. Tabiona won.
Right.
So there's one, and then I picked Uinta to win by more than 10 points. John picked him to lose by less than 10, and he lost. So, and then John picked Union straight up to beat Grantsville. I said, nope, Grantsville's going to beat them. So it was a sweep.
Yeah.
Moving on, you beat me a few weeks ago when you were here on the show. I'll make sure I pay up. I do believe I offered you a jazz game, and you told me you were too tired.
You did, but you know what's sad is it was Nerden that helped me win that contest, because before we ever went in, he told me all who to go with and everything else.
Nerden, geez, wish he'd do that for himself. Where I leave, I'm undefeated this season, except for the loss to you.
Well, I'm pretty confident today.
Okay, so let's go into this week's calls of the week, and you feel pretty good?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to defer to the old guy. So go ahead. The first question is, Jazz fans are out there. They're going to announce the All-Star team tonight. Do Rudy Gobert or Gordon Hayward, do either one of them make the All-Star team?
Well, my personal opinion is there'll only be one, if there is any, and it's got to be, it's got to be Gordon. The guy has had a leadership through the team, and so I think he's going to be the one they're going to pick. But Gobert, my gosh, he's a dominating force in the middle. So I'm going to go with Gordon.
You're going to go with Gordon, and I'm going to go with, it's too crowded in the West. Gordon Hayward is certainly all-star worthy. He plays for Utah. Unfortunately, 50% of the vote comes from the fans. We just don't have the population to push that up there. And Rudy Gobert, he's the engine that's driving the Jazz right now. Without him, they're number one in defense and points allowed. They're the best defense in the league. And if he's not on the court, it doesn't happen, But they both play for Utah, and it's too crowded in the West. I say neither one makes it. So you got Hayward making it. I got neither one.
It took you forever to say that. You were a good 3 minutes just saying.
Yeah, just a space filler.
My gosh, we're going to run out of time, aren't we? We only have so much on the air.
I don't know. Okay,
all right,
next quicker.
One. You go with the next one.
Who makes the Super Bowl? We've got the matchup. Pittsburgh travels to New England, and then Green Bay travels to Atlanta. You want me to go first on this?
Sure.
I say Pittsburgh doesn't have the ponies to beat New England at New England, so New England goes. And I also say that Rodgers for Green Bay finds magic again. He's had a Hail Mary in the back of the end zone to end a half, and he threw a 36-yard dart to win the game last Sunday. I say he has a little bit more magic than Matty Ice for Atlanta, so it's going to be Green Bay and New England. That's my picks.
I'm going to go with you 50%. I think it's New England for sure, but I think Atlanta's going to come and they're going to sneak through the back door and make it happen. So I'm going to go. So what happens here? We just get a half a point, because I agree with you on New England.
The tiebreaker game is going to have to be the Atlanta-Green Bay game. Okay, so that's it right there.
Got that.
So did we do that in enough time for you?
I can see we got 7
I know
more
you got to
seconds.
get to lunch.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
All right. Next, what's the last one? You went at Wasatch, and I went first last. You get this one.
Well, again, I think right now, Uinta is peaking right now, and I think you went over Wasatch. Wasatch's record is just not that great, and even though it's at Wasatch, if you can get Parker going again, and you get Gardner going again, and some help on the boards, which Mason did a great job in this last game, I'm going to go with Uinta.
Uinta, and you know what? I'm with you. I'm saddling up on that. I'm doubling down on Uinta, so now we got to pick a score. Since you got to pick first, I'm going to say Uinta wins by 4 in a close one.
Well, I'm going to say Uinta wins by 10.
Okay, so we'll go over 4. I'll give you the over. So anything under 4, I win. Anything over 4, you win, and we'll take it like that. So that's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, who keeps track of this? I mean, I don't keep track. Does production keep track of the winner?
Well, let's just write it down right now.
Well, it doesn't
we'll
make
write it down in the break.
It doesn't make any difference.
It's on film.
It doesn't
we'll
make
go
any
back and
difference
review the tape.
you don't pay up on your debt, so it doesn't matter whether I'm winning, losing,
goodness.
whatever.
Wow, I mean, this
is
guy,
a waste of time for us to.
Waste of time?
Well, it's not a waste of time, but it's a waste of time to try to decide who's right, who's wrong. I got a bad attitude right now about this little segment, Call of the Week.
Call of the Week.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have a good attitude when you win again.
Yeah.
Coming on as a guest and treating me like that, boy, you'd think you'd be a more gracious guest. Okay, that's the Calls of the Week. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back here on the Sports Spin.
I'm Amanda Hartman. I'm the new director of nursing here at the Villa. Here at the Villa, it's far more than a nurse-patient relationship. You truly are like a family. We have a community here, we have neighborhoods within our community, and we create lasting relationships that mirror that of our own families.
We're kind of just one big family because we're their sole providers, and we spend a lot of time with each and every resident. Even our rehab patients are here for months at a time, so we really create a family-like environment with them also.
Welcome back to the Sports Spin. It's time for the Fast Dash.
So welcome back to another segment of the Fast Dash. Today we got a couple of Uinta Ute wrestlers with us. Alex Shope and Tucker Tomlinson. A couple of what do you wrestle? What weight?
195.
195.
160.
160. Oh, they might be able to take you, Mark.
Yeah.
No problem.
How big a boy are you, John?
I'm not big enough to take either of these guys.
That's right. All right.
So, you guys know how this went. Wait, before we start, how did you do in the Tournament of Champions?
I took first.
First? Wait a second. Who'd you beat?
Duchesne.
Duchesne?
Oh, that's right.
Skews?
We heard about that earlier.
I heard about that before.
Steven Skews.
I took second, but I defaulted out.
Yeah, so he, what'd you do? A little shoulder?
My shoulder.
Dislocation, and we'll have to get
We have some video of that dislocation. I believe that might be a player of the week one of these times. Anyway,
so, all right, you guys know how this works. We put a little clock on there for a minute, and you guys answer questions as we fire them at you. Mark's going to hit the first one. Here we go.
First one? Okay. Off the top rope or jumping off the ladder?
Ladder.
Ladder?
Ladder.
Yeah, it depends on the height of the ladder, right?
What's your favorite move? Wrestling move?
Double.
Double?
Half Nelson.
Half Nelson.
What's wrong with an RKO? Let's go.
Easy.
What?
That's not real wrestling.
That's not? Oh, come on. Christmas or your birthday?
Christmas.
Christmas.
Favorite sport?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Assumed it.
Triple H or Ric Flair?
I don't know who those
Oh,
guys
come
are.
on. This is WWE. This is old school. Hulk
Ric
Hogan?
Flair.
Huh? Ric Flair? At least you knew. Right?
You just
Okay.
pick one when he says something. He's a little off. So, the high of the pregame butterflies or the after-match meal?
After-match meal by far.
There we go. Little veterans.
What is the aftermath match meal? Salad or a burger?
Anything in sight.
That's the best answer I've ever heard.
Anything?
Yeah.
Wrestling or prom?
Wrestling.
Musical or opera?
Neither.
Oh, come on. You can be well-rounded. It doesn't hurt you.
Show.
Musical.
Let me hear you
Show.
sing. Give me a bar. Nothing?
Hey,
You're not gonna do
great job on the fast dash. Show us that move real quick.
Which one? Not on me. He's
Yeah,
got
give
to
him something.
Hit his shoulder. Do it on him. All right.
All right, here we go. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Sports Spin, presented by Uinta Basin Healthcare. Health and healing, every person, every time. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll see you next week.